There's something in the air in addition to all this for those of you who are living in America, a place that I helped to found, along with many of you. You know it's election season. Now, you've heard the news that it's election season. And most of you all around the world know that it's election time in the United States of America. Quite entertaining in a way.
That's a nice word.
Absolutely entertaining, with all the commotion, all the noise, and especially all of the power. Elections, no matter where they're held, are generally about power. Power. And I want all of you to be particularly aware of the elections this year. Now, many years ago, Tobias said, don't vote. Stand behind the short wall, observe what's going on. I won't go quite that far, but I'm not going to say it's all that important to vote. Vote if you want. Vote for what you would call the much lesser candidates, just to throw the big ones off. Just to throw, even if you don't know their names, even if they don't know the names of certain world leaders, it doesn't matter. Just even if they can't remember their own name, but just vote for some of the lesser knowns, just to prove a point about power is an illusion. Because the main political parties, no matter where in the world, they get so caught up in power, they can't help it, because they're influenced by what you call specialty groups, specialty influence groups. They're influenced by money. They're influenced by religion. They're influenced by so many other things that by the time they get to the place where they're at, running for an office, they are so influenced by power, including their own. They don't see or feel anything other than the power. It's an addiction to them when they get to that point, and to everybody else around them. It's a power game. They talk about serving the people, but very few actually do. It's been decades since there's actually been a national candidate who really focused on serving the people, because it doesn't serve the needs of power. Ooh. Feel into the elections this year as what you would call a spiritual study or a metaphysical study. Feel into it with more than just your regular senses. Feel into it with your master sense, without making judgment of one candidate being right or wrong, without getting caught up in the divisiveness of the elections to where it impacts you personally. Feel into it. What's really going on? What are the populace, what are they doing? Why are they following certain candidates? Why do they get in a frenzy about this? Why is there so much divisiveness and name calling? And it's all based in power. It's truly amazing to watch. Absolutely fascinating. It's a fascinating study in humanity itself when it comes to elections. Elections by themselves, I have no problem with democracy, which there really aren't any real democracies in the world right now, but the faux democracies that are in practice, fascinating to watch. And underneath all of this, as you're being the observer, watch how so much of it is also about freedom. The word freedom rather than the act of freedom. The talk about freedom, where actually none is really given, in a sense, more and more is being taken away. But all of the dynamics of freedom and power working together or against each other. Listen how those who are supporting certain candidates talk about freedom, but really there is not much. I would go so far as to say they don't really understand what freedom is. Freedom isn't about what other people are letting you do. Freedom is about what you let yourself do. And there's a very, very big difference. People will scream for their freedom, for their rights as another should give them. When the reality is freedom is about yourself, what you are allowing and giving to you. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you freedom whatsoever. You can be in a prison and have more freedom than the person out walking the streets. Freedom is an internal thing. As you listen to all the political rhetoric in this election season, and you'll get plenty of it, as you listen to it, I also want you to go in and feel within yourself the election system that you've been having within you. Who's going to get elected? Who's going to be the boss? Who's going to be in charge? I want you to listen to, because there is such a beautiful analogy between the exterior elections and the internal elections. Who's going to be the boss today? Who's going to be in charge? The victimized human self or the empowered human? Is it going to be an aspect, a wounded and damaged aspect, or is it going to be a healthy, integrated aspect? Listen to the debates that go on within your mind each and every day about who's going to be in charge. Listen to who promises more freedom, who promises more wealth, who promises more happiness, who promises less rules but actually never delivers. Because in a way, what that human self has been living up to now has been one constant ongoing election. Listen to who's rigging the results. Listen to who's lying to the others, the other aspects of self. Listen to who's making the big promises but actually never delivers. With the election season this year in the United States, I can guarantee one thing, that no real changes will come about. They just won't. There's a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of talking. No real changes will come about. Why? Because people actually don't want real change. Some people want a little change. Most people really don't want much change. Maybe fewer taxes, but even then they'll forget about that after a little while. People don't really want big changes. Listen to the election within yourself. All the promises, all of the glorious things about a better, healthier body, slimmer, younger, wealthier, and the politicians within, the aspects within that are making these promises and don't deliver on them. But the next day, they're right back in there trying to get elected again. Who's going to be in charge? And the fact is, very few changes actually really take place. But hopefully, today will be a little bit different. Hopefully. That's why we're going to kick out the politicians, kick out the power brokers, kick out all those aspects that have been making all this noise and all these promises, and we're going to master up today. We're going to take a big, bold move. We're going to kick all those bums out of office. We're going to run them out of town, and we're going to get to a point of actual, real, personal sovereignty. But wait, are you ready for a change? Wait. Yes, are you ready for a change? That's the real question. And you say yes, and I can understand, but I also, I'm going to ask you to listen within to all of the other candidates that are running, that are saying it will deliver change, but no, they're really not. They're just trying to appease. Speaking of elections, I always thought that the clergy should have to run for office.
Ooh.
Yes, the priests, the local priests and the ministers should have to run. They somehow get appointed. I don't know how they get in, but they get appointed, they get assigned to it. Cardinals and bishops, they should have to run for office and let everybody vote, not just the Catholics. Let them all vote and see what happens. The Jews, the Muslims, and everybody else gets to vote.
Should there be term limits?
And term limits, yes, actually, not until death. Could you imagine some of the political debates or the political commercials that would take place if a priest had to run for office? I will fight the devil stronger than my opponent. My opponent has been seen is sitting in the car with the devil himself and laying in bed with the devil himself. I will fight the devil. Or promising less tithing. Yes, I propose a 25% reduction in tithing for
Tithing
everybody who
means
votes.
10%.
Tithing, but we'll have a 25% reduction in tithing. We'll get to 7.5%. That's all you have to give. While my opponent supports more tithing for everyone. Could you imagine what would take place in the confessional?
Is this a distraction?
It's my comedy routine. Kinda comedy. It's so act it up. Anyway, back to the priests and the elections.
Ooh.
Priests and elections and free Bibles to everybody. Free Bibles to everybody.
We're
Yes.
not a hotel.
And less penance. Oh, you sinned, Edith. You sinned again. You use bad words. Fuck. She's always saying fuck. And it's like, God, Edith. I mean, what a sinner. And it's like, but if you vote for me, I'll give you half off on your penance. Yeah.
No way.
Only 2 Hail Marys, 2 Our Fathers, and 1 what the hell's going on. Yeah, that's all. You can say it all. You can say it all you want. Or you're going to stay with your bad words then.
No, that's my business.
And also you have to vote for the clergy. And how about this? I'm closer to God than my opponent over here.
What?
I'll get you a better room in heaven. Not just level 1, level 2, but I'll get you up to level 7 heaven if you vote for me.
So
I
you're
think
Mormon.
I kind of mix them together, a little Mormon, a little
so
Jew,
you're a
a little this, a
Mormon.
little that.
Slipped
because,
there. You
because
slipped.
basically all the religions are the same. They're just like politics. That's why I say they should make the clergy run for office. There is little difference between politicians and the clergy.
Wow.
And I said it right here, and I'm proud to, yes. And
Whoa.
why? Why would I say that? Both of them have a degree of value, not much, but a degree of value, but they're both based on what? Power. And they both don't talk about what? Freedom. No. So they're actually very, very similar and would make this world an even more amusing place if the clergy had to run for office. But that's just my opinion.